TE Talks with Guides is a weekly podcast for lovers of history, travel, and all things Italian. Welcome back, everybody, to TE Talks, sponsored by Through Eternity Tours. I'm your host, Rob Allen, and on TE Talks, we get to talk with some of the most fascinating people who make a living of being wonderful storytellers and also creators of lovely delicacies, including something that's very important to us, gelato. I repeat, gelato and not ice cream, with Sergio Dondoli. Ciao, Sergio.
Ciao, buongiorno. Welcome. How are you?
I am doing quite well. How are you?
Oh, very nice. Even the situation is not really nice, but I'm feeling well.
Oh, well, that's good. Yes, because I remember you're going to be going on to a competition. You'll be flying to Mexico soon. Which is
yes, it will be a nice time now. I will do someday holiday and someday work. Okay, it's a nice mix.
Okay. Can I just, let me just tell our listeners that you are a very, very special guest, probably the first of its kind in our show, that you are a master gelataio. You are one of the greatest Italian not ice cream, but gelato creators. You have created very exceptional flavors, and you are situated in San Gimignano. And probably starting out when you guys open at 9 a.m, you have a line out the door of people coming in to try your ice cream. So I guess I'd like to start a little bit. Tell us a little bit about yourself and how you created this. How did this happen? Why did you become so famous?
This is, I don't know really. Well, we don't have a recipe to be famous. I think it's a mix of many, many things. The first is I'm proud and happy to be in San Gimignano. You know, San Gimignano is a wonderful town in middle of Tuscany. If you are in Tuscany, you cannot miss to come to San Gimignano. You must come to San Gimignano. Well, it's the most beautiful middle-aged town in the world. So, and this this gave me the possibility to be famous while I stayed in one famous town. I think this is the first thing. The second one, when I began to make gelato here, it's more than 30 years now, I began with a new idea. I have to say, when I opened my shop here, I was 8 years in the business, gelato business. My first gelato shop I opened in Germany, 1984. So, and here I opened 92, 8 years later, right? So, but I began a new way for gelato. Nobody thinking this time about natural ingredients, about don't use flavor or colors to produce whatever gelato. But I was very interested to do that. So to begin on, my gelato was different, like than other gelato you can find around me. And this began to make me popular. So we have many important customers in my shop. I have even now. Many important customers. And even these make me popular in the world. Just to give you an example, Tony Blair was and is a regular customer of my shop. And when he was prime minister, come here many times to make holiday with all the family. And in this time, I was going to serve gelato more or less every day, and we was eating together. But this connection made me popular by the journalists, you know. So many journalists come to me and say, "You are the gelato man from Tony Blair," you know, very easy thing. So, and TV come, and this step by step make my position popular. So I can say that. This is the the reason why I'm so popular now.
Well, yeah, this is a great thing, but I think it's also your product, as you said. And I remember you made a great impression with me because you are a very generous person, very enthusiastic about what you create. And as a businessman, you explained to me that you never cut costs when it comes to your product. With the gelato, you do not have artificial flavors, you do not have artificial coloring. And then on top of wonderful products, which I think is hopefully a lot of Italy in general is known. You know, when Americans come to Italy, they're just astonished at the flavor because things have so much stronger flavor, the tomatoes and whatnot. But you have wonderful flavors, but then it's how you combine the flavors. I mean, I remember specifically one that really stood out to me was the lovely rosemary and raspberry flavor, because I love raspberries so much. But then in fact, there have been competitions, world competitions. In fact, that's what you're going to be going to in Mexico. You have won with, I think, was it 3 or 4 times you have won some of the best gelato flavors of that year.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes, it's true. So, my story is before I opened my first shop in Germany, I tell you, 84, I had 2 restaurants. So I come from the gastronomy. So, and this connection between restaurants taste, I don't know if you, I try to traduce in gelato many things. So, and this gave me the possibility to create my flavors. In this time, nobody was interested to create gastronomic flavor. Well, I tell this gastronomic flavor. No, everybody have a very regular flavor. Chocolate, vanilla, whatever, tiramisu, whatever.
Sure.
But for me, it was important to play with gelato. Well, this is a passion. If you make this job with passion, and I am very, very curious man, even now I am 70 old, I'm very, very curious. So I cannot stop to try something new. So I want to, you gave me the example about rosemary. Rosemary is a plant you find in every corner here in Tuscany. In every corner, in every corner by the street, you find a rosemary plate. And this flavor, I remember I was still young. I feel this flavor, and I have it here. And I try to give gelato soul on this flavor. And I find out with rosemary, it's wonderful. But even you can do that with ananas, pineapple, and rosemary is incredible too.
Wow.
So I make a study, to mix this, and even we have another very famous gelato. It's Venera in English. It's Black Venus. It's blackberry with lavender. The same history with lavender. I feel the flavor for lavender since I was young. Well, in our, I don't know, when you put your cloth in your armadio, it's in Italian, I don't know.
Wardrobe. Your clothes wardrobe.
Yeah. They put this inside just to give a nice flavor. And it was also for the mosquitoes,
The moths.
Yes.
The moths.
So, and this flavor, and you cannot find one garden in Tuscany without displaying,
Sure.
So I was also curious to try this, to put with fruit together, and so was on. But the most important gelato we have created for the first time in the world was with the saffron.
Yes.
Well, our most famous flavor is this Crema di Santafina made with the saffron of San Gimignano. And this is, I'm very proud about this. Well, when I come here in 92 and I open my shop, one old guy with the same name like me, Sergio, he was very close by my shop. He told me very short the history of San Gimignano, but it's in 2 minutes. And I understood the history of San Gimignano began by the saffron. Here was probably the most important saffron in the Middle Age time. The most important saffron from San Gimignano. Every tower you see around my shop was paid probably with saffron or with saffron money. Saffron was also coins, like coins.
Sure.
You can pay directly with saffron. So it was important for me to translate even this important flavor in gelato, So I began to try it, and the combination with saffron it's not alone the most expensive spice in the world, costs more than gold, even now. But it's also difficult to work. If you put too much, so it's difficult to have the balance by the taste.
The right balance.
So I tried many times, and then one day I was very happy. So I think we had a nice solution. And I understand too why nobody does in the past with the saffron. Well, I tell you, saffron is the most expensive spice in the world. So more or less, this is a very expensive gelato in production. But for the customer, costs the same price like other flavor.
That's exactly what I was thinking about, is that you do this. The creation of that ice cream, you try to make it the same. The prices are also, considering how famous you are and people are lining up, the prices are the regular prices of any gelateria, but the flavors are exceptional. And I was thinking about talking about storytellers, like my podcast. We love to have great storytellers. When you explain that story to me in your your tasting kitchen, which you do, gelato making lessons. Sorry, I keep on thinking about the English version, which is terrible. But anyway, was that you did such a exceptional story because you talked about the towers and the saffron. And then you explained why the towers are still there, because like places like Rome or all through Tuscany, they all had these towers in the Middle Ages, the wealthier places. And San Gimignano was one of the most powerful and wealthiest towns, right? And then what happened? Do you remember the story? Why is it that it still has the towers today?
Yes. I tell you the history like me was Sergio tell me in the past. Very short, but you can understand this. So the tower, to live in this tower in near 1,100, 1,200 was regular, was the house in the past. And the people, they have money, they built a tower to live in there while they was protected from the many bandits, in the past, was not easy to live.
Fighting in the city.
Yes. So, and San Gimignano was in this time a very famous town because the saffron. The saffron made the people here rich. So they have a nice community and they have a very big economy because the saffron. Why the saffron? They still use to make colors by the cloud, Oh, and this is a gold colors, and gold by the important people was important to have gold colors. So just this history. So the people was very, very rich in San Gimignano. But later, after 1400, between 14 and 1500s, one guy with the name Marco Polo going to China. right? Okay.
Sure.
Going to China and brought from this place, from Syria, whatever, even saffron. And this saffron from Asia was cheaper.
Sure.
Many cheaper. Like today, the history from today, right?
Sure.
Okay. Was cheaper. So, and then began the problem in San Gimignano. So they don't have more money like in the past.
Sure. So,
and in this time, between 1500, the people here, we have a renaissance. And the people, they don't want to more live in the towers. They want to create palace, they want to stay in palace. And the rich people cut the towers and make palace, right?
Yep.
All right. But San Gimignano was poor. They don't have, not every family have money to do that. Sure. And then they live in all the time in the towers. So the poor time make rich time from today's San Gimignano.
Sure.
Many towers preserved while the family was poor. They don't want to cut more. They don't want to change to palace.
Yes, and so that's what makes it unique in the world, right?
Yes, it's unique in the world. And now is our richness,
Absolutely.
There is the life is always a turn around, begin again, come.
This is a great way to look at things and important too. I remember the beautiful ice cream with the saffron. It was lovely to taste. Now, let me just ask you one thing, because I know it was a very important message. I think that you want to always talk with people. Let's talk about how you specifically say gelato is not ice cream and do not call it ice cream. What is the difference? Why is that so important to distinguish? Because I think that's a very important message that you like to give out to people.
Yes. Also, we have to say, gelato and ice cream, even they are the same family, the frozen, this family are completely different, while more or less ice cream is an industrial product.
Sure.
And what makes difference between the both, of course, is the freshness of production. When you go buy ice cream, whenever you come from, New York, or Cleveland, wherever you come from, you buy sure a product made months before. It's a regular, right? And when you come in my shop,
sure,
I can't just talk about my gelato, of course. Sure. When you come in my shop, I promise you, in the season, we don't have a flavor older than 24 hours. So, and this makes a big difference between months old, 24 hours old. Sure. But it's probably not the most important difference. While ice cream, when you correct preserve and coldness, you can eat after years. Don't have problem. Probably change the taste, and this is very probably, yes, but you can eat. So, okay. More important is probably the ingredients. I tell you, I began 92 to work with natural ingredients. Natural ingredients in this time don't exist. Organic flavor, organic milk don't exist. Of course, now, yes, I have when I want to give an example about what regular gelato, milk gelato, everyone with milk, no fruit gelato is different, milk gelato. More or less 55%, 60% inside is milk, fresh milk. And when you have the luck to have near my gelato shop one wonderful farms, they have biodynamic biodynamic farm, with cows, you receive this wonderful milk. So you can be happy to produce a nice gelato, even in the taste, but more important is healthy compared to other art of gelato or ice cream. While our cows, I say our cows, while I have adopted the cows there, just to be sure to obtain for all the time this milk, our cows, they never have one pig antibiotic. Don't exist pig antibiotic. Don't exist pig from any other artificial pig medicament. Nothing. Our cows are so happy they never be sick. This is not a slogan. This is the reality. And this you cannot have in the other ice cream art. They don't have the cows. They don't have this possibility to have this milk, for many reasons. When they produce one flavor, they produce ton of flavor. So they need ton of milk. It's not easy, No. So, and this is one of this difference. And another thing, if you want later, I can tell you more about my cows, about my milk. But the question was different now. Is the difference between gelato and ice cream? I tell you one, but I tell you more. For example, the ice cream, they pump air inside. When you go buy ice cream, you buy always volume. You buy pint or gallons, whatever. You never buy air. While the ice cream producer, they pump so many air inside. And how much air? This depends the company, depends the flavor, of course. But we can say more or less 100%, more or less. While this air make the ice cream soft. I tell you, ice cream, they still produce in advance, many months before. And this ice cream, without enough air, after months is hard like stone. So what makes the ice cream soft is air, only air. So they must pump air to have, after months, enough inside to find enough air inside to have a soft ice cream. Otherwise, you don't buy again when it's hard. So, but this air, like everybody can understand, have no taste and no colors. Right? And when they pump 100%, so they have the double volume they began before. 100% is double. So, and probably if you don't put flavors or a little bit color inside, when you try this without this, probably taste nothing. You don't have enough molecule when you pump air inside to understand what you have in mouth. So you must give flavor and colors and this air to understand what you eat. This is in my reality, how I know how they can produce ice cream. So we in our shop, we don't pump air in my gelato. But the gelato come out very natural with 25% overrun, more or less. Some flavor 20, some flavor 25. So does it just a tiny more air, I don't need, in this case, to put flavor inside to let you understand what you eat.
Sure.
The biggest example is by fruit. In our fruit gelato, strawberry, everybody knows strawberry.
Sure.
Strawberry gelato and strawberry ice cream. Everybody have a one-time strawberry ice cream. So in my strawberry gelato, we use 65% of organic strawberry. 65%. So when you have a spoon, you have 65% of real fruit with every vitamin, mineral, salt, etc. Compared to strawberry ice cream, you have 50% is air.
Wow.
And the other 50% is, I don't know, it's something, okay? I don't want to tell. Probably inside fresh strawberry, no, they don't see fresh strawberry, probably. Huh? So this is a very big difference. But another difference is the fat, for example. Yes, and this is working together with the air. How you can preserve this air inside the ice cream for a long time, just with fat. You know, well, have you make at home whipped cream sometime?
Yes, sometimes, yes.
You know how it's going. You have
you have to beat the whipped cream.
Whatever, come air inside and then the volume going up, right?
Yep.
If you put this cream in the freezer, after 2 days, probably the volume is down. You don't have more air, right?
Sure. It goes
so
up.
What happens? While the air bubble you have produced, you have the head gravity and they push down and let explosion every air bubble, or many bubble you have produced. And this is the same problem for the ice cream producer. But how they can preserve this air with fat, while the fat, when it's liquid, make a film over this molecule, small air bubble, and when begin to crystallize, so close inside this molecule, this air molecule. So, and how many fat they need? Okay, depend again the company, the flavor, of course. Of course, depend how many air they have pumping inside, but we can be sure the regular range is between 24 to 30%. You can see how many fat.
Wow.
30% regular. Then some are less. Some company they have less, but more or less is this. Okay. In my strawberry gelato, I have none fat, none.
Wow.
It just made with water, syrup, and fruit. I tell you how many fruit I have, while I don't need fat to preserve this air, while I produce daily fresh. This 25% of overrun that I reside is more than enough for 3-4 days for me. So I don't need. So all in all, you can say if you eat 4 strawberry gelato, you have the same calorie for 1 strawberry ice cream. 4.
Sure.
Oh, you understand the difference between gelato and ice cream. Huh? This is something history. Okay.
That I understand, and I think everyone else can completely understand the difference. Thank you so much, Sergio. Before we finish up, I just want to say, because you also were very kind, you showed us you have a kitchen that is right down the street from where the gelateria is, and you offer gelato making lessons, right?
Yes. We made this. We made 2 different lessons here. One is professional, of course, but we do this in winter time, right now.
Sure.
Right now, I was finished since today with the last class this year. So I make professional. But in summertime, begin by April this year, we begin by April, we give less for our customer, for the tourists, the people, they are curious to understand what I tell you now, the difference between gelato and ice cream. And they come here. We have 2 hours times. In these 2 hours, I tell the people the history of gelato, the difference between gelato and ice cream, and then they begin to touch the ingredients, to weight the ingredients, and they construct the real gelato. So they clean the strawberry or whatever we want to do. They make everything safe, and they have a lot of fun. Many families come here. It's not cheap, I tell you, but what I promise the people, I give my presents always here, and we stayed a couple of hours together as well. But it's fun things, yes.
Yeah, I think these things are wonderful. They're wonderful experiences. It's always important to come to Italy to see history and museums and whatnot, but to have experiences with you on how to make gelato, I think, are the things that also are really memorable, especially since it's tactile. And if you have a family and you have some kids, you can go in and you can see. And, just that's what makes the difference. Sergio, thank you so much again. I think that this has been so important because so many people, when they come to Italy, they know they like it better. They like gelato better. But now we know clearly why it is better. It's not just the taste, it's lighter, and so many other things makes a difference. Probably people who now listen to this are not going to ever want to have ice cream again. They're going to only want fresh gelato. And I think that's the goal, right?
Yes. Thank you. Thank you for this opportunity. I'm very proud and thank you so much. Really.
Yes.
Thank you.
I can't wait to get back to San Gimignano to have some more of your gelato.
I will wait in a few.
Okay. Grazie mille. Ciao.
Ciao, grazie. Ciao.
Ciao.
Thank you for listening to our TE Talks with Guides. We have a new episode every Wednesday. Please subscribe to get an alert when each podcast comes out. Rate us and tell people how you enjoyed it and share it on Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter. Most importantly, if you enjoyed it, send us a feedback about the show. Also, if you are curious about what some of these people and places we talked about look like, you can subscribe to our YouTube channel and watch the video on this podcast where we have inserted special images for you to further enjoy the story.